Okay, welcome back. It's another day, which means another podcast. All right, Mama's in control. I am Heather Chauvin. Welcome to the podcast. The show is all about helping you feel in control of your life from the inside out. When we are so determined to change the way we think and feel about ourselves, and yet sometimes getting in our own way. I have a really interesting story to tell you today about fear and sharks. Yes, I actually swam with a shark by accident. And it was interesting. So I will get into that in a minute. But before we do that, I just want to say thank you for all of you who have come over to Instagram and have followed me and also sent me your direct messages. Maybe you've had a question about the podcast or something you would like me to talk about. It's been amazing to connect with you, and I'm so loving this process, and I can't wait for 2019 or to see where 2019 brings us. So all of the questions that you're sending me on Instagram, we are collecting them and putting them kind of in a schedule, in a calendar, and yeah, we will answer them as we go out throughout this process. So if there's anything you would like me to talk about or a question that you have, I've been getting some great feedback just based on conversation from previous episodes that I put out where you're like, I don't, you say this, but I don't quite understand that. Can you expand on that? So that's great information for me. So just head on over to Instagram at Mom is in Control. That's my handle. If you're not an Instagram goer and you do have a question for me, then just send it to support@heatherchauvin.com and we will collect that information as well. Okay. So today I want to tell you what happened this weekend. So I went away for a short little girls trip with a friend. It was her birthday, and she was adamant about celebrating herself this year. And it was really interesting because we all know that we're quote unquote busy and we have full lives and we can make up every excuse in the book to not do something like this. So there was 5 of us collectively. And all of our connection was to this one individual. So some of the people I didn't really know that well, and it was beautiful to see the collaboration and the connection that kind of came together in a short amount of time. So one day we're at the beach and we're just hanging out, having a beach day, and we decide to go in the water. And so I'm not a huge fan of swimming in the ocean. It gives me heebie-jeebies. It's like a secret fear that I have. I don't like swimming with fish. If there's anything that I know that's alive in there, I just freak out. Sometimes my brain wanders when I'm in a swimming pool, and I freak out as well. I think something happened when I was a kid. Maybe my brother tried to freak me out about like there's a shark in here or something. So we're in the water, and we're not that far in. We're about waist deep. And so there's 5 of us all together, and I think there's about 3 or 4 of us at this time. So the 3 of us decide to get out of the water, and one stays in the water, and she's about up to her waist. She throws some seaweed at me and says, Heather, there's a shark in here. And I don't believe her, and she's joking at this point. And then all of a sudden, this shark, and I don't know what kind of shark or how big it was, just swims past her leg. So something in shallow waters, clearly, because she wasn't like deep into the ocean. And it swims past her leg, like brushes up against her leg. And her face was terrified. And she said, "Shark," and she ran out of the water. So none of us believed her because, what she did previously, kind of like the boy who cried wolf. And I'm asking her questions. We're asking her questions. She's like, "No, there was a little fin. Like, I seen it. I saw it. And we're standing there going, yeah, whatever. Like, we don't believe her. So we're looking. She goes, "There it is." And you could see there's a pack of them, like about 3 of them maybe, wandering at different spots. And so everyone collectively on the beach is starting to like hover and try to get a picture of these sharks that are just swimming up and down kind of the beach. But you could clearly see them. The water was clear. And it was a really interesting experience because as I'm observing this, I thought, this shark represents her fear, right? So this when you are in my world, this is how you hang out with your friends. So there's the five of us, and after we're sitting on the beach or we're out for dinner, and we're like, oh, what is this? What's the spiritual representation of a shark? And, we're all giving our interpretation of what we think this was for her. And she said, I told her, I said, I think this shark represented your fear just right there with you. And you had to sit with it and you couldn't run away from it, even though you literally did run away from it out of the water. She said, I was so grateful. When we were talking about gratitude for the day, she said, I'm so grateful for that shark today because it really shook me up. It really got my heart pumping and it scared the shit out of me. And it caused me to have this, this emotional crack open where I could feel something. And it was a great representation for life. And so I told her I was going to share this story because I thought it was really interesting for multiple reasons. One, let's go back to the beach. And if it was me, I would have been out of there like, oh my gosh, even if it was a minnow on my leg. But the fact that the stories we tell ourselves about fear, right? So just think of something you're afraid of. The stories we tell ourselves, I can't do this. This is scary. I'm going to die. Oh my gosh, this is good. Like we don't realize the actual stories that we're telling ourselves. And it's just fear holding us back, which is just our primal brain kicking in, doing what it was created to do, which is to keep us safe. So this fear that she had about whatever was present with her. The story she was telling herself about this fear caused her to freak out and to run out of the water. Right? If it was a little dog in the water, she would have not been afraid of it. If it was like a nice koi fish or something, probably not a koi fish that would be there, but something that was socially acceptable, right? Like, I have no freaking clue. I'm not a fish person. Let's just say it was a dolphin. Dolphins are known to be friendly. So let's just say a dolphin swam up to her. That is going to be a very different story that she has in her mind about this sea life. So it's the stories that we tell ourselves to cause us to react, right? Whether it's an argument or it's in parenting or why you can't accomplish your goals in 2019. These are all stories. So there's that. But the interesting part was also this thing of like celebritizing things, like everyone running down like, oh my God, there's a shark. Oh my God, there's a shark. Like some people freaking out, some people being like, oh, look at me. I'm going to go back into the water. Like, look, I'm this brave person. Like, oh my gosh, I'm in the water with a shark. And then other people just buying into this illusion, the story that we tell ourselves that something is scary. In reality, I have no idea what type of shark this was, but I'm assuming if you're up to waist deep water, and it wasn't humongous, like this wasn't like Jaws shark, this was a smaller species of shark. It may not have been, aggressive. So it's our perception and story that we put on these animals, that put on these objects, that we put on people that cause us to react and freak out. So we need to take ownership of that, to realize that it's deep, deep conditioning within ourselves of what we've been taught culturally that allow us to react the way that we do to our lives. So let's go back to what I talked about when she said she was so grateful for this shark. So we're going around the table and we're like, what are we grateful for today? What happened today that, was awesome? And how are we feeling? And checking in with each other. So she says, I'm grateful for the shark. It really shook me up. The interesting part was when I was talking to her earlier, she started to cry. And I said, what was wrong? I said, what's wrong? She said, why am I so afraid of joy? Why am I so afraid of gratitude? And she said, I'm so grateful for that shark today because it shook me up. I was numb. I couldn't feel the gratitude of, collectively asking a handful of good people in my life to come together to celebrate me, to celebrate my birthday. And we all did at the drop of a hat. We rearranged our schedules and said, we'll be there for you. She said, why can't I feel this? And I just sat there in silence and I said, I hear you. Joy and gratitude are some of the most vulnerable emotions that we feel as humans. And the second we get close to it, we want to pull away. our body wants to pull us away. And that's just what life is about. And I talked about this a few podcasts ago about foreboding joy and being afraid of our light. And that's truly all this is about. So this is what I love when you start to live consciously, you start to surround yourself with conscious people and like-minded individuals where, we can take something like that and we see it as an opportunity. It's a great story to tell, like, there's a shark. But also it's a great memento. It's a great realization, an aha moment that maybe in that moment she needed to have that experience to shake her up. So what are you truly afraid of? And is it really that scary? That's my thought and lesson for you today. Head on over to Instagram, check out Mamas in Control, subscribe, send me a podcast, or a podcast. No, don't send me a podcast. Send me a question for the podcast if you have one.